If I look at my floor and I've got 10 salespeople and I got one or no females on my floor, if I got no females in my service department, I got no females in management, I might say, wait a minute, that's crazy. If females have over 87% buying power and I don't have one, or I've only have one on my floor, maybe I want to properly recruit and hire some amazing females to the team so they could be a catalyst to be able to engage female prospects at a higher, better level.
Let me ask you a question. Did you come here to listen to money or make it? This is L.A. Williams, the blind master. And Sean V. Bradley and I came here for one reason and one reason only. That's to fill your pockets with money. Now how we gonna do it? By giving you the secrets, techniques, and strategies for you to stop losing and start winning at this game called automotive professional sales.
Hey everybody, this is Sean V. Bradley, president of Dealer Synergy, and the creator of the Millionaire Car Salesman community, the #1 community in the automotive industry. And I'm super excited because my co-host with the mostest is the one and only Tianna Mick, aka T Got Your Keys. So what's up, T?
Hey everybody, yes, I am back on another Millionaire Car Salesman podcast episode, and I'm super excited to actually bring a special guest on with us as well. We have Stephanie May, who is with the Women Automotive Network, and this is literally an out of this country experience. And I'll let Stephanie kind of kick off why that is. Stephanie?
Hi everyone, Stephanie May here, Women Automotive Network. And yes, I am from London, UK, but representing the Women Automotive Network, a global community who obviously Tianna is part of and has made this wonderful introduction today.
Well, thank you so much for being part of the show. And I think, honestly, you are the first international interview we've done on this podcast. On my radio show that we had, Against All Odds, that was an iHeart from the coast to coast, from the East Coast to West Coast, we did some internationals, but this is the first international automotive podcast. But we do have some international members of our group that listen to the podcast and are part of the Facebook group. Besides the United States, I'd say Canada is the second biggest, so North America, but we do have some from the UK, from Ireland as well. So this is definitely an honor to have you. But can you tell us, before you get into your background, which I want to know all about, can you just tell everybody what is the Women Automotive Network? What is the mission? What is the vision? What is it that you guys do and why?
Yeah, of course. So the Women Automotive Network, global community, 34,000 now. Our mission is to support and empower women in the industry by any means possible. We don't have specific targets. We're not aligned with any government. We are an international community there for women and men. We've got events, we've got mentorship program, job vacancy platform, leadership interview, and basically just love to kind of be that leg up and that hug that you need, or whatever, whenever.
Okay, so Tianna, how did you find out about the Women Automotive Network being in the United States?
Yeah, funny enough, I'm just super connected online and in LinkedIn, and I came across the Women Automotive Network actually like online, kind of, because they do events, like I said, in Europe. So I'm obviously not in Europe hanging out in there. I'm in the States. So I actually found them on LinkedIn, and when I was doing more research, I was like, oh my gosh, why do we not have this big following almost over here, because we have so many other, women kind of oriented automotive sectors, but there was really nobody kind of doing it like Women Automotive Network. Like, they have a huge event. There's so many, different women from all walks of life coming together. And it's absolutely amazing and inspiring. So I found them on LinkedIn, and I kind of wanted Stephanie more to go into kind of how she personally sees how the Women Automotive Network has impacted lives in real lives, because I see so many people commenting saying like, oh my gosh, this is inspirational. You guys have a mentorship program, which is awesome. There's not a lot of, organizations in general, let alone women-oriented organizations, having mentorship programs. So can you kind of go into what Women Automotive Network really does to help impact, women in automotive that are working in automotive, and, like some of those mentorship programs and things like that?
Yeah, and so nice to hear you talk about us. And I think you've hit the nail on the head. We're a community. We're about love. We're about supporting each other. I literally just got a message from LinkedIn that says, "You guys really are about giving and about the community. We're never about sales pitches. We're always about giving back." So, Women Automotive Network. We're about women, not just for women. It's one of our biggest challenges, I think, to have both sides of the conversation involved. So whenever we do an event, whenever we do a mentorship program, we make sure that there's men involved talking about their side of the story. So hey, Sean, thanks for being the co-host and taking one for the team. It's not a women's issue. It's never been a women's issue. We've been having conversations for 100 years, women's suffrage. The conversation just changes, and it's for everyone.
I had a question. So women in automotive, that's such a broad thing. So you have, from my experience, there's multiple levels to this. So you have technically you have the public. So there could be women in, body shops, mechanics, or in the retail places. Then you have women in the car dealership sense, whether they're owners, they're managers, they're service writers, they're technicians, they're in the office. Then you've got women in the vendors, like whether it's dealer synergy, or there's CRM companies or technology companies or recruiting companies. And then you got women in the OEM. So I just want to be clear. Does your network represent literally women in all those aspects, or is there a piece of the puzzle that you guys specialize in, like dealerships, OEMs? What is it that the organization is focused on the most?
I wish we could say we do, but no, we are for everyone and anyone. Like I just mentioned, about women, for women. We work with the students at the universities who volunteer at the events. We get them involved on their career ladder. Then we work with the CEO of Peugeot, for example, who did a keynote speech talking about her career journey. Chris Fuel, CEO of Chrysler, just joined the LinkedIn interview series last week, talking about her experiences. Then we've got the likes of like JLR, Francois Dosser. He's talking about sustainability in JLR and why he supports women in automotive and why he thinks everyone needs to be involved.
If I can, T, I would like, then first of all, that is commendable. It's amazing, that you have that wide of a focus. That's such a broad stroke towards this, and I love that. But for this show, because my expertise, our expertise is dealers, and we work with OEMs and vendors, but our audience are automotive professionals, managers, and owners. So I want to ask the first question, then I'm going to let Tianna take back over. I want to set the direction. Can you talk to us? I'm just curious, what is it like, whether it's in the UK where you're based out of, or anywhere else that you represent around the world for Women Automotive Network? What is it like for females at car dealerships? Do you see, like, let's just use UK, for example, or in Europe, do you feel that there is a good representation of female salespeople, sales managers, or owners on the sales side? Or is it like the United States? It's like endangered species over here.
I think endangered species is a little bit too far. It's obviously still a man's world. Yeah, there's no easy way. There's no icing on the cake to put it. It's still boys' business. And people like Tianna are changing the game, and they're the face not just of now, but the future, and all these girls to look up to.
I really appreciate that. Yeah, no. The whole Women Automotive Network really kind of inspires me, just because they, like Stephanie said, they just give so much helpful information and motivational information. Stephanie, I'm really curious to understand, like Sean said, I guess from the UK versus US, right? Are there any, do you think, unique or different challenges that women have to go through in the UK, whether that be on a management level, a selling level, versus the US? Because I was actually talking to one of our Canadian listeners, and they said that it's actually rare to sell a car the same day and deliver it the same day. Like that's super rare for them. They in the US, that's like an only thing. But in Canada, you actually deliver the car like 2 or 3 days after. And I was like, that is super interesting. So whether that's like, whether that's like in the sales process wise, or if there's any just unique challenges in the UK, or if not, if everyone's kind of the same, then it almost makes us feel less alone. But what's your perspective on that?
Wow, put me on the spot here. Do you know what? We just hired someone who's had 13 years at Peugeot working in the dealership there, and she's come across to the network to see the other side of things. I can't tell you the day-to-day how long it takes to sell a car. I can know from my personal experience, Tesla and those other companies have completely revolutionized the car buying experience now. So you can book an appointment on your phone, can't you? And you can walk away the next day with the car. Do I think the UK is any different? No, I think we're all in exactly the same boat. Doesn't matter if you're Canada, Australia, Vietnam, Africa.
Yeah, that's what I'm finding, is that the world is not as big as we thought it was, and we're not as different. And that's a problem with America, though. Look, I travel all over the world, myself, and so I feel that I have a little bit of an edge over a lot of Americans. But unfortunately, in our country, Americans think that we're the only people that exist, that they're like, that other people in other countries are, I'm not saying that they're dumb, but they're not as innovative as us, or, as intelligent as us, or as resourceful.
I was going to say, Sean, I think the opposite. They may look at us and be like, those are the dumb ones over there. But
yeah, no, I know what I'm trying to say is us out. You know what I mean? Like, I'll give you an example. I've been to Russia a lot of times, not lately because of all the craziness going on, but I've actually done business in Moscow and St. Petersburg. And one of the biggest things for me that I was shocked over is not only do most Russians learn a second or third language, but everywhere, from the TV, from the conversation, it's on a global level. Netflix has changed that. If you think, like, streaming TV has had now international programming, but before Netflix and Hulu really came out, cable and satellite was just American stuff. So my whole point is that I think that with your statement, it's correct. It's like, we find similar challenges, similar resources all over the place. So my question directly is this for you: working with all these females that you have all over, but specifically on the dealership side, if you could, and I know that's not your core expertise, I want to ask you, but I'm going to lead you a little bit. What do you think the biggest challenges, at these dealerships? I'll tell you, in the United States, the reason why that I feel as a guy, there are not enough females in the automotive industry at the dealership level, is I think there's a lack of education and training. Okay. And I don't think that a guy personally is qualified or equipped to turn around and invent the training on how to recruit, train a female, and assume what she wants, needs, expects, or etc. So if there isn't, proper amount of training and resources provided to the dealerships and a standard set, it's just controlled chaos. So I think that's one of the challenges, is the lack of training and structure, to be able to properly attract, recruit, hire, and work with females in the automotive the way that I think it should be. What's your opinion on that?
Yes, it's training, but I think it's fundamentally the whole sales process. It doesn't matter what industry you're in, sales usually is, a man's world, shall we say. And yet there's a few statistics that we need to look at. 60% of the purchasing decision maker is usually by the woman. It's crazy when you go in there. A couple of really funny quotes that I've heard recently is, until there's a place for a woman's handbag in a car, who's designing them, right? And then it goes right down the way to the, yeah, that got you.
I've never thought of it that way.
Thought about that. Okay. That's the house where you can put your phone now, but where are we supposed to put the handbag? And then you go right through that sales process, like you said, into the dealership side of things. You walk in, how is it user friendly? I remember when I was a child and you got given a screwdriver set, and I got this fluffy pink one because it was supposed to be a female one. But yeah, everything, every branding, everything is designed for masculinity, isn't it? And then even if they do want to attract women, what, we have a fluffy feather on a screwdriver, you know, we don't even know at school how to change a tire. Sorry, I'm getting too involved here.
I
I'm
completely
way
agree.
too feminine.
I
You brought up
completely
a-
agree.
You brought up a good point, Tianna. We just talked about this just the other day. In the United States, NADA says that a female has 87% buying power in an automotive purchase. And they actually influence up to 70% of truck sales as well. So your stat is 60% is powerful, but in the United States, it's 87% is insane. So your point is well taken. If females completely dominate the buying power, but yet we don't do a good job, in my opinion, in all aspects. But what you're talking about is on the sales side. I'm talking about just for employment. Like, both of my daughters are in the business. Stephanie. So Tiana's been in the business for 6 years. Her sister's been in the business for 3 years. Her mother's been in the business for, almost 17 years now. So I think I have a unique perspective because I've got 3 strong females that are crushing in automotive. But when I look at dealership after dealership that we work with, most of them don't have women in leadership positions, women in management positions, women in ownership positions. That's what I mean by endangered species. And literally, it really meets the qualification of a endangered species. If you're looking at, there's 18,250 franchise dealers in the United States. That means that, we're talking about 500,000 minimum automotive professionals. And out of the 500,000, if there's only, a couple hundred, if that or less, that own a dealership, that's mind blowing. That's endangered species level. That's what I meant.
And I think that's what Stephanie means too, is the kind of question was like, okay, if the dealership is a square peg, right? How do I fit these round women into this hole? And I think that's the exact point, is we have to kind of look at the infrastructure of the dealership and realize it's not built for women, because unfortunately with the society that women have to take on 80% of more responsible roles when it comes to family, caring, and things like that, it's just not built right for women. So regardless, in my opinion, Sean, even if you train, the dealership, you educate them, I think the real change is going to be if we restructure the way, we don't work bell to bell hours, right? 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. almost every day. That's not a quality life for any man or any woman.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Hey, LA, do you know that dealers are still suffering from inventory, from lack of inventory? Again, the manufacturers are still not where they used to be with their new car inventory, which is putting a heavy strain on used car inventory. And so I'm telling you, dealers need to look at VinQ. VinQ by far is the absolute best software and technology provider when it comes to acquisition, trade-in, used car inventory, used car pricing. We call it the V-Auto killer. So folks, if you are looking to have the absolute best inventory software specifically for acquisition purposes, for pricing purposes, for so much more, just check out VinQ. As a matter of fact, VinQ is going to be a featured speaker and their sponsor for the upcoming Internet Sales 20 Group 15 in beautiful Baltimore, April 15th to the 17th.
I never realized until I became a mum quite what the challenge was, honestly, for women. I never became such a feminist until I realized that they want us to do so many different jobs. You've got to be amazing at work. You've got to be amazing at home, and you've got to juggle so many things. And honestly, society isn't prepared. And Sean, I don't know what it's going to take. It's not going to take a fluffy pink screwdriver. It's not going to take someone going to school and saying, would you like to be an engineer? Would you like to go into the dealership? It's society, and it's bloody massive.
I want to show you both something here. Stephanie, have you heard of the book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Dr. Stephen Covey?
Yes.
Okay, good. So Covey talks about something that I think is really relevant right here. He talks about the see, do, get principle. So what he's saying is, in the see do get principle paradigms, our perception of a situation or something is going to directly affect how we see something is going to directly affect what we do. Like our actions, our behaviors, what we do, and what we do is going to directly correlate to what we get. So let's play this out in the current reality and what I think that we want to try to change on this program right here. The current paradigm, for whatever crazy reason, is that, females are whatever that negative paradigm is, whether they're soft or they're not capable or they're not as good, or they could do something different, or whatever that paradigm is. There's something that's there, whether it's society. Forget about society. Let's go a little bit easier now. Dealership owners, these are multi-million and multi-billion-dollar businesses. For whatever reason, the owners and executive managements feel whatever way they do, and because of that they're doing certain types of practices, whether they're good or they're non-existent. Meaning they might be doing negative stuff, like the pink screwdriver thing, that's a negative thing, or they might be doing something that's just as bad by not doing anything at all. They're not bothering to do the change. They're just part of the status quo. And what do we get? Dealerships across the United States and the world that don't have enough females in the dealership, whether it's sales, service, management, ownership, whatever. But if we change the paradigm, ladies, that's what I'd like to start to shift the conversation. Whether it's, okay, what should the paradigms be? What should owners be thinking? What should managers be thinking? And Stephanie, you hit it on the head with the first comment that, hey, females have the most buying power. So forget about everything else. Just forget about the human part of it for a second, that we should all be equal and we should, respect everybody. Just put that for the side. Let's appeal to people's business savvy here. If you want to make as much money as possible, if you want to sell as many cars as you possibly can, then you need to respect the reality that females are the number one prime demographic. They are in control of 87% buying power in the United States for automotive. So with just that variable alone, it would make sense to be able to understand your targeted audience completely, their wants, their wishes, their needs, their feelings, and be able to develop a strategy, not only to sell, but to hire, to recruit. Because in my mind, I'm like, well, wait a minute here. If females control everything, control the money, control the decisions, then I need to get me a team of amazing females on my dealership to be able to reach out to them, to relate to them, to serve them properly, even if it's just for the purpose of maximizing profit, because dealerships are not FEMA or the Red Cross, they're for profit. So let's start the conversation there. Let's go through, how do we break the paradigms and how do we help our audience, whether they're managers or owners, change their paradigm? Stephanie, what say you?
I know, you're throwing me right under the bus here, aren't you? How to change the world. What's this podcast going to be called? It goes back to you, doesn't it? It's obviously about education, right from kind of the ground up, teaching our children about cars, about all aspects of a car, equal opportunities, going to the dealer, not making it scary. I'm gonna say, we have the purchasing power, we have needs, demands, wants, marketing, CRM, aftercare. That's another kettle of fish, totally, isn't it? How do we go to a car garage afterwards and get the car worked? It's a full cycle. You want me to pinpoint one thing? Sorry, Sean, I need another hour or 100. Tianna, you're in the business daily. Help me out, my dear.
I know. I'm trying to think. There's so much that we talked about. I know, but Sean said, putting all the feministness aside, I definitely think it's going to start with, like Stephanie said, just equal opportunity. I think the opportunity of being a car salesman is even in the word car salesman, that, that subconscious thought that it's a man's business. So why is a woman, stepping in for this position? When I worked, or when I got my first job as a car salesperson, the interview just said, the application just said car salesman. And that all automatically just kind of knocked me down, right? I was like, all right, well, now I got to cross this part off and put woman, right? Because just so they know, like, that's the type of person you're going to be hiring. If you're going to be hiring me, I'm not going to go with the waves, right? I'm going to start breaking those waves. But so I would definitely start from going into the dealership with clean, fresh eyes and almost seeing it as the perspective of your daughter, your wife, your your friend that is a woman, and seeing, okay, is this really a comfortable space that a woman would feel comfortable in? And if the answer is no, then it's like, okay, how can I make this space more comfortable? Because I think it automatically just comes down to that, is just everybody feeling comfortable in their environment. Because if nobody's comfortable in their environment, they're not going to thrive in it, regardless of what career path you choose. So that's why I think it's really awesome that Women Automotive Network actually created different mentorship programs. You can meet and talk to women from so many levels, like CEOs, managers, and they give you so many, tips, advice, motivation to just keep going. Because I think another thing that Stephanie brought up too is like, regardless if they're US or UK, us women are probably going through the same things. So we need to uplift each other.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to do a self pitch here, but like you said, you can meet anyone via the mentorship program, and all of the events are hybrid, they're online. We still do the speed networking. I know COVID's kind of behind us, but there's still such a place, especially with such a huge global community, to network, to meet, to feel comfortable in a closed door community. And as we've touched upon here, doesn't matter if you're from the dealership, the aftermarket, the production, the design, everyone's in the same boat, and the opportunities with the network to kind of have that speed networking, have that mentorship, cross industry, cross culture, cross absolutely everything. It's wonderful.
I think it's so important for all the guys listening too, because we have a lot of male listeners out there, right? Is all these messages, especially for women, you really need to listen, because it's unfortunate. I took a class in high school. It's called American Women. And of course, what guy is going to sign up for a class called American Women? None, right? So in that class in American Women, we talked about women's studies, issues, all the stuff that's, fundamental for humans to just be equal. And we all sat there and kind of looked at each other like, why are we in this class? We have so many guys, friends, colleagues that we know that would benefit so much more than being in this class. So if you're listening and you're a guy and you think, oh, this is just, girls talking girl talk, it is, but you need to listen, because it's so important.
Wait a minute. I'm part of the conversation too. And I identify as a male, just saying.
But it's important.
No, and
exactly,
it is literally, male advocacy, male champions, everyone being part of the conversation. We are not a closed door community. Nothing's going to change, is it, by just people talking between each other? You need everyone there. And it's fantastic you just mentioned, obviously, we're coming to Detroit for the first time this June, and we're so excited to have Tianna on stage, because you've obviously only ever spoken virtually. We can see you there, and you can get involved. And Sean, we've got a male advocate award category, so please nominate yourself or Tianna to tell everyone what you're doing. And like you said, there are more men in the industry. There's more men subscribed to this podcast. We're not a community that talks about bad stuff. If you focus on the negativity, you're going to attract negativity. We need to focus on the positives. We need to focus on working together, being better together, spreading the word, slowly but surely, reaching out one by one. And it's the little changes that's going to make the big differences.
Okay, so what I want to do is I want to give nuggets. A lot of our audience listens to this podcast, so they could literally take pieces of it and almost like a checklist and implement in their life for the dealership. So let's kind of go through if there's not enough representation of females at the dealership. I as a guy want to just say to my people out there, look, don't listen to what we're saying and just hire random females just because they're a female. You know what I mean? Like, that's just kind of silly. It's going from one problem to another problem, not having anybody and then having not the right people. What you want to be able to do, in my opinion, and I want to hear what our guests have to say, is first make the conscious decision, like, hey, look, if I look at my floor and I've got 10 salespeople and I got one or no females on my floor, if I got no females in my service department, I got no females in management, I might say, wait a minute, that's crazy. If females have over 87% buying power and I don't have one, or I've only have one on my floor, maybe I want to properly recruit and hire, some amazing females to the team so they could, be a catalyst to be able to engage female prospects at a higher, better level. So the question is, okay, let's say they buy into that. They're like, all right, that makes sense. 87%, I need to pay attention. I haven't been paying attention enough. Tianna brought up something, but I know my daughter, so I got the little piece of it. She didn't elaborate, but as far as, scheduling and being a parent and all that other stuff, there's a reason why, like, females, not just females, but millennials, but let's say females in general, don't like working in the dealership. And one reason that I know, and I want to ask you guys right after this, is the hours, because some dealerships still have an archaic strategy in the United States of what's called bell to bell. They work 12-hour shifts. So they'll work from 9 in the morning to 9 at night. And that's not really conducive, for a mother or, for certain females that have certain things they got to do. Because like my wife, for example, she's the CEO of the company, but she's also on the PTA and she's very active, in the schools and the activities. So my question is, okay, besides the hours, Tianna, can you give a couple other reasons why females don't think, so not the dealership side, the female side, you know what I mean? Why do you think females don't want to work at a dealership or don't, try to look for a job in the automotive industry?
Well, I think they don't want to find a job or actively outseek employment in automotive. Is kind of like I said, that first story when I went to apply and it literally said name of car salesman. It's like, okay, it's just in the name. It's almost like if you went to a female dominated industry.
Wait,
and
really? Because see, this is I'm a dumb guy then, because I would have never, car salesman. It's just like, here's the thing. This is what I'm confused about. Okay. And I'm going to speak for the guys out here. Why is it then that is an irritating point? But then if I say actress, right, and it's like, no, I'm an actor. Well, make up your mind. You know what I mean? Like,
well, they did fix that. It is now just
I would just
that's my point. They did. Yeah. So, but if it's okay, but what I'm saying is, if it's okay to use the male term actor instead of an actress, then what is the problem of car salesman versus
car salesperson?
Yeah. You see, this is the thing. I think some guys are not mean, and some guys are they just don't know. They just have no clue.
Sean, it's just society. Look at every single job title: policeman, fireman. It's society. And like we just said, it's been 100 years of suffrage and we're still having these conversations. It's not about just making a dealership open their doors or hiring a female salesperson, because like you said, you can't just tick a box and hope that that's going to improve diversity or improve anything. It's about hiring the right person for the right job. And in actual fact, that might be a man who's got 3 daughters like yourself, who actually understands, who understands what the business needs. At the end of the day, diversity makes business sense. The stats are there from Capgemini, McKinsey, Deloitte, but people are not listening unless there's a quota.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Dealers, GMs, automotive professionals, video is by far the most powerful medium. I'm going to repeat that. Video is the most powerful medium. I mean, video email, video text messages, etc. As a matter of fact, Google prefers video more than anything else. It's the highest piece of algorithm content there is on search engines. Human beings prefer video more than reading, writing, talking, texting. So you should be doing video at your dealership, and the absolute best company to help you with your video strategies is Co-Video. I mean, their name has got the word video in it, Co-Video. So you better get some Co-Video. And as a matter of fact, you can see Co-Video at the upcoming Internet Sales 20 Group 15 conference April 15th to the 17th in beautiful downtown Baltimore. That's right, Code Video is going to be speaking and sponsoring again. So automotive professionals, if you want to upgrade your video capabilities, invest into Co-Video.
And I think the most diverse you can be is just spreading your array of communities, that you can cultivate into your relationships, especially in front car sales, you know what I mean? And I think especially when people say, I did pick the right person for the job, it's this single man that can work 12 hours every single day and I can just work him to the bone. And then you, as a dealership, you kind of have to look back and say, okay, what kind of culture do I want to create? I want my males to also be able to go home and go to their kids' games and go to their kids, doctor's appointments and things like that. So I think as a, whole,
and an industry, right?
As an industry, we need to change. Yeah.
Definitely. And obviously COVID brought out flexi working hours, which is really great over in the UK. And hopefully you guys are picking up on that. But it's not just flexi hours, is it? The whole world has changed.
Explain what that is, because that's not big over here. So explain what that is.
Flexi hours, as long as you do your 40 hours in a week and your contracted hours, do it whenever you want. Work from home, work from the office, work 2 a.m. till 6 a.m., take your kids to school, cook dinner, go back in the office for a couple of hours. It's about giving the person and empowering them to hit their target, deliver their work responsibilities, whilst also having a fulfilled life.
No, this is good. So I want to go back to Tianna and just what you just said too, Stephanie, is I think it's changing the culture. So some of the things that I've seen dealers do, especially large dealer groups, is, and you don't have to hire a consulting company. You could do this internally, or you could do this with a vendor partner. A consulting company could help you, but reverse engineer this. You should identify, a dealership should understand, if you want female employees, what is important to them, what on the hours, like as far as the hours, whether it's a flexi schedule or just a non-bell to bell schedule, or if it's certain amount of days. I mean, they should be able to reverse engineer what is absolutely important, to females, not just females, but since this is a female conversation right now, and there's a deficiency in females, I would definitely focus on what is missing, what is a challenge, what people don't like, and then just start to make those changes. Tianna, like what you just said about, on the application car salesman, if it's changing it to say car salesperson or automotive professional or whatever it is, I think there needs to be a checklist of all the things that they need to either tweak, change, or modify. Once that's in place, step one. Step two would be recruiting. Because here's the other problem, I think, Stephanie, and I don't know how it is in the UK, but over here, nobody really thinks of the automotive industry as sexy or fun, or that you can make a lot of money. There's a negative perception in the United States that car sales people are, shady, or they're liars, or they're this or that. There's like running jokes, but I try to tell everybody to listen to me. There are more priests and there are more police that are in trouble or in the news than there are car people. And it hasn't been car people for decades now. But if dealerships are not proactive, doing job fairs, doing networking, creating like career days, career centers, and things like that. If they're not going to high schools, if they're not going to vocational schools, if they're not going to universities, if they're not, working with the work studies, programs, if they're not infiltrating themselves in the communities and the education, then people are not going to know that the automotive industry is a viable opportunity. At the dealership level, you don't just have sales. You have, you have internet, you've got BDC, you got finance, you got service, you got parts, you've got digital marketing, you got all that stuff. Does that make sense? There's a whole bunch of different areas that you have the opportunity to be able to find quality females. T, what are your thoughts on that? And then we'll hear from Stephanie.
Well, can I just say one thing here? Because you just said, in order to hire women, and you've just gone straight to that quota, in order to hire women. And that's not what we're saying, Some women just don't want to be in that industry. Yes, we want to open it up, but it's about why. Why do we want more women working in that dealership? Because they've got so much purchasing power. So it's actually about flipping it all the way around and going, why do I want a woman salesperson? Well, because they've got so much buying and purchasing power. I want to be successful as a company and I want to sell more cars. Therefore, I've got to understand my customer. Therefore, I want to employ the right person. It doesn't have to be a woman, like I said. It could be a man, a dad, a husband. Just got to connect more and realize to be a successful company, you've got to understand that these women have their purchasing power. And DE&I is not about ticking boxes. It's about diversity, it's about equality, and it's about impact. And that impact is what we keep going back to, isn't it? Society in general. Sorry, P.
No. I want to add something. I want to be clear because I've only been reacting to what you're saying. I don't think, for me personally, that's the only reason by far is because of the buying power. I'm going to tell you, I've been a high-level manager for 25 years in the automotive industry. And for me, and my specialty is business development, internet sales, CRM, and digital marketing. By far, if I had a profile, I prefer females in my department by far. I feel personally overall that they're more attention to detail, more and I would say loyal as far as, the industry that we are in the United States. Again, I don't know what it is in UK. It's a high attrition. There's a lot of turnover, people come and go in the dealerships. But what I've found over the years is that, females are more dependable in the positions that I've seen them in. And I think they have better attention to detail. So for me, I just think that they are not only as good or equal, but I think they're better in certain aspects in our industry. So I don't think it's just because they could relate better to the prospects and we could sell more cars. I think they could absolutely do the job as good, if not better, than their counterparts in the industry. So I don't know. Tianna, what is your thoughts and your experience on that?
I'm always wary of agreeing or saying like women are better because it's just, there you go. See, they're feminists. They think women are above men.
Yeah.
But I do completely agree with you, Sean. Like there's obviously going to be better things that women are going to be equipped with in the sales process, whether that's communication, detail, caring, but not to say that there's any guys that don't do that, and vice versa. There's going to be some things maybe that, that guys can do in the sales process that we maybe necessarily aren't able, to do as much. I can't come to think of anything right now, but, I agree, but it's hard to kind of be that female advocate sometimes because it's almost like you're bringing down men as well in that process, which is unfortunate to see that kind of counterintuitiveness to be like, hey, women are awesome, we're awesome. And then a man to be like, I told you, they think we're better. And it's like, no, this whole talk is that we're equal. There's no better, right?
And it's such a sensitive topic and it's so PC, isn't it? And you have to tiptoe around. But there is starting to be research that women are better salespeople. We have more kind of emotional connection and understanding. It's just, I think that flexibility, isn't it? And making the whole role more attractive. Maybe we should do a research together or a poll.
I know I did recently see Grant Cardone, his 10X team, they did a whole study because they also are like the health industry as well, health field. They did a whole study. They've been trying to disprove it for like 2 decades that women have more gray matter in their brain, which is ultimately where you store intelligence, thinking, high motor functions. So they're basically trying to disprove that women are actually born better or more equipped into the world than men, and they're still trying to disprove it. So it kind of like warms my heart to see another guy say that, because if a female was advocating and saying that, they'd be like, there's no way, how is this? So just a little Grant Cardone shout out, because he's one of our partners. But Stephanie, I did really want you to have the opportunity at the end here to kind of give some more information about the Detroit conference. All of our listeners, I want them to come to the event, whether they're a guy, right? As an advocate, or a female, or if they bring their daughters. So really kind of tell us about the event. When is it? What's going on, and really get us excited about it.
Oh, thank you. I'll try. So it's our first physical event in the States. We've been running events since 2019. We're all super excited. Everyone's been saying, when are you going to come? When are you going to come? It's 4th of June. We're partnering with Auto Tech Detroit. So technically it will be a 3-day summit with an exhibition. Like you said, it's about women, not just for women. Loads and loads of conversations about sustainability, about DE&I fatigue even. Is it still relevant in the industry? What can you expect? 400 people on site, nearly 1,000 hopefully will log in online like they do with all of our virtual events. We're going to have on-stage interviews with the COO of Genesis, for example, and VP of Carriage. Topics will range from anything like you guys know, from dealership, ChatGPT in the sales room, to designing a car that can fit a handbag, to kind of business, sales and marketing strategies globally, and the differences. The closing panel actually will focus on the differences for women and the opportunities, both in terms of geographically and job functionally. So that will be very interesting. And obviously the best feature of all of our events is our workshop session, the one-to-one discussions, which of course you'll be hosting a topic on.
Yes, no, I'm super excited to just be a part of the network and organization, and to be able to speak at the first US event. You know, that's going to be that was like on my vision board, to be like a major speaker, especially when it comes to like you guys, because you're so not US based. So now I feel like you just like checked off another bucket list item for me. So thank you so much. I'm so excited. I want to invite everybody to go. I already have like 5 or 10 people texted me like, I'm going to be in Detroit. I'm going. So everybody, if you're listening, go to the Women Automotive Network. Stephanie, how can they register? How can they sign up? But just going online, right?
Yeah, womenautomotivenetwork.com. Tickets are less than $400 until the end of the month. And obviously with your speaking code, if you say Tianna25, you can get 25% discount as well.
That is so awesome. So if you're listening, get 20, it's Tianna25, Tianna 25. You're going to get 25% off. And it's already an amazing deal. So it's like, how more amazing can it get? So make sure you guys go get it.
$400. Like, what can you get for that?
Yeah, I'm going to tell you right now, it is one of the best investments that you could do. And listen, all of the super smart people, you mentioned Grant Cardone, but if you talk to Grant Cardone, you speak to Warren Buffett, or, you know, like any of these superstars, they say the number one investment that rich and successful people do is invest in themselves. Invest in yourself, invest in your people's education and networking. So T, you're going to be on what track? What is your subject going to be speaking about? What are you talking about at the conference?
It's going to be how your community can be your greatest asset. And we're going to be speaking about exactly kind of what we were talking about here. Regardless of what your community is, right? How can you maximize that and really drive sales and business, whether you're a male, female, young, old, you know, you like video games, you hate video games, you know, there's a community there for you, and you're going to find your people. So it's just finding your people and getting them there.
Stephanie, before we go, I want to ask you something. You said this a couple times in the show. You said that the Women Automotive Network has mentorships. So am I assuming that what you mean by that is, let's just say that there's one of our listeners that's a female, and, you know, she works at a dealership in sales or management. There's obviously somebody in your network, whether that's like Tianna or somebody else, that is a subject matter, you know, authority or expert. That how do you match that person up? How do you match up a mentor and a mentee? And am I correct to assume that it's per industry or per job role?
Yeah.
How does that work?
So we it started back in 2021. Again, people like Tianna said, what can we do? How can we maximize relationships? So we now run 2 mentorship programs a year. The January program actually closes tomorrow. So quick, if you're interested, go on womenautomotivenetwork.com, have a look at the mentorship program, submit your application form. And as you mentioned, so you have to fill out a questionnaire based on language, number of years experience, job title, industry, your professional requests, your personal objectives, shall we say, or achievements, and then everything is one-to-one. And you get matched with your mentor for 4 to 6 months. We obviously encourage you to stay, build that relationship. And I have to say, well, as Tianna probably knows, the mentorship program is a loving community. The amount of connections that we've seen from people in the States coming to stay with people in the UK. We've had Swedish mentors going over to South Africa. The connections that you make are seriously lifelong, and it can be, like you mentioned, for personal or professional reasons. And then all you need to do is just complete the application form either by tomorrow or in the summer. And yeah, we're there to support you on your journey.
Well, I want to just thank you so much for taking the time to be able to talk to us. It's very insightful, and I think it is such a tremendous underutilized, under-focused, topic for the automotive industry in the United States. And, I'm really proud that my daughter is part of your organization, and you guys have embraced her. And I think that synergistically, we could help you or the network, scale. So T, what we should do is put the link not only to the conference, but just to the association in the Millionaire Car Salesman group, and just put it in the description of the podcast notes as well. Cool?
Sounds like an awesome plan. I want to bring so many people to the US event, so that way they're like, why did we just do this time? Why don't we do this every single year? So I'm super excited to be.
Well, we work with 50 corporate members now: BMW, Porsche, Toyota, Bosch, Magna. So many people realize the business sense of getting involved in the network, supporting women, talking about diversity. It's fantastic.
Well, my wife just said she's the CEO of this company. Automotive News has recognized her as one of the top 100 females in North America in automotive. She wants to go to the conference. She's like, I would love to go with Tianna. So again, you might have the whole Bradley family there, mom, dad, and the daughter.
Good. We'll book your long table. Amazing.
Well, again,
and we do have the awards ceremony, which I know Tianna was nominated for our European awards. So we will have the joint award ceremony with Autotech Detroit. So get voting for her once again when applications open in April.
Absolutely. We're definitely going to, try to be able to perpetuate Tianna. And also we would love to look at when's the next event in Europe or what have you. So, you have June is Detroit. When's the next European event?
So we actually are celebrating International Women's Day with our online meetup. Same format that Tianna's always participated in: live on stage interviews, breakout workshop sessions, speed networking. That's on the 8th of March. So it's a Friday afternoon. If you're going to say bored, sat at your desk, if you want to meet more women, if you want to be inspired on a Friday, that's 8th of March, International Women's Day. Then Detroit, June 4th. And then our European Summit is on 8th of October in Germany.
Germany. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, T. If you want to close this out.
Yep. Thank you so much, Stephanie, for joining us from the Women Automotive Network, all the way from London to produce our very first international podcast on the Millionaire Car Salesman podcast. It has been T Got Your Keys, aka Tianna Mick. I actually have to introduce myself as T Got Your Keys now because I'm more famous as that. So it's been T Got Your Keys, aka Tianna Mick, and co-host Sean V. Bradley with special guest Stephanie May. Thank you so much, Stephanie, for joining us, and we hope to have you on again.
Definitely. Thank you, guys. Take care.
So there you have it, the Millionaire Car Salesman podcast. This podcast comes to you every week from the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. If you have a question about the show or would like the chance to become a guest, feel free to contact us directly at 856-546-2440 or email us at millionairecarsalesman@gmail.com. This program is a presentation of Synergy Records, produced by Tianna Mick and L.A. Williams. Production and engineering by L.A. Williams. The Millionaire Car Salesman podcast is hosted every week by L.A. Williams and the Millionaire Car Salesman himself, Sean V. Bradley. The Millionaire Car Salesman podcast can be found everywhere, so please don't forget to review, subscribe to, and share the show. Thanks for listening to the Millionaire Car Salesman podcast.